welcome back to our channel. Today I am going to be making a creamy mac and cheese bake loaded with some roasted mixed potatoes, pumpkin, spinach, and some jerk prawns. So the ingredients I have and I will be using today are, I have some fresh prawns here which I've added some salt and a tablespoon of my homemade jerk seasoning to. I have some pumpkins, a mixture of sweet peppers here. I have 1.5 cup of macaroni here. I have some spinach leaves here, some olive oil. Here I have a mixture of cheese, and I have some grated mild cheddar, some red cheddar, and some mozzarella cheese. In here I have a mixture of sweet potatoes and Irish potatoes which I have diced. I have some Greek yogurt here, and I have some spices here. So I have some black pepper, some oregano. Here I have a mixture of garlic sauce and red blended jalapeno peppers, and some finely chopped fresh parsley. So the first thing I'm going to do is to boil the macaroni, and I'm going to be boiling the macaroni for 2 to 3 minutes just to tenderize it, because I don't want the macaroni cooked too soft, because I'm going to be pouring this into a container with the cream cheese sauce, and I will be placing that in the oven. So the oven will do the rest of the cooking for the macaroni. The next thing I'm going to do is to season these potatoes with some olive oil, the fresh parsley, and some salt and pepper. And these I'm going to put in the oven just to have them roasted a little bit, because I will be adding this to my macaroni and cheese bake. So let's get cooking. So now I'm going to be seasoning my potatoes. So I've got my potatoes here. I'm going to add to my potatoes the parsley. So that's some fresh chopped parsley going on here. I'm going to also add some olive oil, and roughly 1 tablespoon of this olive oil over the potatoes. I'm also going to add my pumpkin in here because they're all going in the oven to be roasted. I'm going to add some oregano over this as well. Some pepper. And some salt. I'm now going to just mix these over into the bowl just to get the seasoning and spices rubbed into this. So there I have my mixture of sweet and Irish potato and pumpkin, just flavored with some olive oil and some fresh spices. I'm going to set this aside for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to put it in the oven for them to be roasted. That's my prawn here. I have some fresh prawns here with some salt and some of my homemade jerk seasoning. I'm now going to just rub the seasoning into the prawns and set this aside, because what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to grill them and I'm going to add them to the creamy cheesy macaroni bake. So that's my prawn seasoned there. I'm going to set this aside, and while that's been set aside, I'm going to add my macaroni to the hot water which has been boiling. Here I have my pot with the hot water and salt that's boiling. I'm now going to place my macaroni in here, And just allow the macaroni to cook for, like I said, 2 to 3 minutes. I don't want it cooking too soft here because it will be going into the oven with the cheesy sauce that I will be making. So that will give it some further cooking time. So after 2 to 3 minutes of boiling my macaroni, I'm going to now drain the water from the macaroni and set it aside. Here I have a baking tray, which I'm going to just put my potatoes and pumpkin in. So I'm going to now place my potatoes and pumpkin in the oven so that they can be roasted. So now I'm going to prepare the cheese sauce for my macaroni. I am going to add 2 tablespoons of butter in this pot here. I'm just going to allow the butter to melt here. To the butter, I'm going to sift 1 tablespoon of flour. And I'm going to whisk this in. To this, I'm going to add my Greek yogurt. I'm going to whisk that in here. Just gonna gently whisk this in together here. Just a little tip of water in here, just rinsing the remainder of the yogurt from this. I'm gonna put my stove on medium to high heat just to allow this to boil while I whisk. So I'll just wait to get a boil from that. So just a quick look at the potatoes. There are the potatoes that I have placed in the oven. So that's the mixture of potato and pumpkin, which is roasting nicely. I am now going to turn the oven off, and that's after roughly 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm just going to turn the oven off and allow these to just set aside until I'm ready to add them to my macaroni bake. So now I have my yogurt boiling here. To this, I'm going to be adding mixture of garlic sauce and red blended jalapeno pepper, so that's going in here. Going to gently whisk that in. So that's just some garlic sauce in here with some red blended jalapeno peppers. So now that I'm getting a bit of a boil from my sauce here, I'm going to be adding the mixture of cheese. So I'm going to use maybe about 3/4 of this cheese and leave some for spreading onto the macaroni bake. So I'm going to whisk this in here. So I'm just going to whisk my cheese in here until that's all melted. I'm just giving that a quick whisk. Now I'm going to put my stove back on very low heat. So there's the cheesy sauce for my macaroni. That's done. I am now going to just leave the stove on very low heat, and now I'm going to prepare my prawns. So I'm going to grill my prawns, and then I will prepare my macaroni and my veggies and place them in the oven. Now I'm going to prepare my prawn, and I'm just going to grill my prawns quickly so I can get them to add to my macaroni bake. So I'm going to grill my prawns on this grill here quickly. So remember, I had seasoned my prawns with some of my homemade jerk seasoning, and if you would like to know how to make that homemade jerk seasoning, you can find the link to that video in the description box below. So I'm just going to grill these quickly on here, just for them to get a bit of color, because I'm going to add them to the macaroni bake. So that's my grill on very high heat. So I'm now just going to allow the prawns to grill for maybe 2 to 3 minutes, and then I'll remove them from here. So now I'm just going to quickly flip the prawns over, because likewise I don't want this to be cooked too much either, because they're all going back into the oven. So just slightly cooking everything here, because they're going to go back into the oven and they're going to be cooked again in some more heat. So just want these to get a little bit of color here before I add them to my macaroni bake. And also I don't want this drying out too much, because I want the juices, the juice that's on here, to go into my macaroni. And I grill these on here because I want the jerk seasoning to remain into the prawn, so I get that flavor in my macaroni bake. So now I'm going to turn this off and remove my prawns, and that's after about 2 to 3 minutes. So here I'm just removing the prawns from here. Just gonna scrape them off onto this side, because I want some of the juices on here. So there we have the prawn with some of the juices in here. I'm going to now just set these aside and get my macaroni bake ready. So this is going in the sink to be washed. And I'll remove this one here. So now I'm going to prepare my macaroni bake for the oven. I have had my roasted potatoes and pumpkin here. My macaroni, which has been boiled, so I'm going to get my macaroni into the bowl. So that's the macaroni going into the bowl. I'm going to add some of my spinach leaves in here. To that, I'm going to add a mixture of the cheese, just a little bit on here. I'm also going to pour some of my cheesy sauce. So that's my cheesy sauce. I'm going to pour some in here. Now I'm adding the rest of the macaroni in here. At this point, I'm going to add some of my prawns and the juices from the prawns. So just want some of the juices in here. So I'm going to add some of my prawns now here, just to layer it into the macaroni. Now I'm going to add the rest of my spinach leaves. So that's the rest of my spinach leaves going on here. To this, I'm going to add my mixed peppers. Now I'm going to add my roasted potatoes and pumpkin. So I'm adding some of the roasted potato and pumpkins here. To that, I'm going to add the rest of my creamy cheese. So I'm just going to spread that onto the top here. So I'm just layering my cheese sauce on here. Now I'll just use my spatula to make sure I get every single drop from this pot, because none of it is going to be wasted. Now that I have all my cheese sauce on here, I am going to add the remainder of my roasted veggies on here. So I'm just going to spread those over in here. I'm now going to add the rest of my prawns too. I'm going to add the remainder of my cheese on here. Now I have my macaroni baked ready for the oven. I am going to place this in the oven to bake for roughly 15 to 20 minutes. After which I will remove from the oven and add some more cheese and peppers to the top. So after about 20 minutes, I have removed my mac and cheese from the oven. Now I'm going to be adding the additional mixture of sweet peppers here. I'm adding the rest of the cheese to the top. So I'm just dressing this up with the cheese, and after which it's going back in the oven for roughly 5 minutes, and then it will be ready to be served. So now I'm going to return this to the oven. So there we have it. My creamy mac and cheese bake is done. And this is loaded with some roasted potatoes and pumpkin, some spinach, some jerk prawns, and some mixture of red sweet peppers. Now it's time to serve this beautiful baby on a plate. So there we have it, guys. Thanks for watching, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And also remember to turn your notification bell on so that you will receive more videos like these when we do them in the future. All the best. Take care. Bye.